Found really fascinating and terrifying was that we had far more analysts than we did have people building the games. What we were really doing was running a massive amount of A/B tests. If we give them this option, how much will they spend? If we give them this option, how much will they spend? And every time we found one where they spend more, we then just go to that one and do it again. And the whole thing is rigged because since it's entertainment, they're allowed to. And as you're playing the slot game, it's all been programmed, again, by this giant team of analysts to just extract as much revenue from you as possible through these obsessive A/B tests.
In today's video, we interviewed Chief Product Officer and co-founder of Evive, Mcelroy. He used to work at a free-to-play mobile gaming company, and in today's video, we talk all about how they manipulate their users to maximize their revenues by getting them addicted to the game. But before we dive into that, I have just one favor to ask from you. So many of you watch this channel regularly, but you're not yet subscribed. If you could do me the favor of smashing that subscribe button right now, my promise to you is that I'll continue working hard every day to spread information that gambling addiction is real, but so is recovery. What's your name? What do you do?
My name is Mcelroy. I am the Chief Product Officer and co-founder of Evive, a digital platform. We are basically both the digital entry point for helping people reduce harm from problem gambling, as well as a digital standalone solution.
Awesome. And what motivated you to get into the work?
I would say it's been kind of a long and windy road for me. Growing up, my father was actually a very regular gambler, but didn't negatively affect him at all. The gambling happened to also be a alcoholic, and I had some of the same impacts I think that people growing up with a parent with gambling addiction might have, which just made me a little bit more open to understanding the impact. And then ended up having an employee that I did not know was addicted to gambling. They worked for me for 4 years. And when I realized the impact of gambling on them and the problems they had that I never knew about, it really made me think twice about how often people are suffering alone and not knowing what to do. And I've spent my life helping scale customer service, customer success, just helping people at companies, helping them get what they want out of a product, helping them understand what to do when they run into a problem, and sometimes even helping them find an answer when they're not even looking for it in a way that's intuitive and just feels natural. And I recognize that that does not exist as far as I've seen in as elegant a way as is built to help people get addicted to gambling. I don't see elegant solutions that are super intuitive, easy to use, and showing up just in time for the person experiencing harm. And I really saw an opportunity to jump in and use some of the skills I built over my career to actually reduce harm from problem gambling.
One question that I have for you, so you worked at a lot of notable companies and you were helping to scale them specifically through the customer success, customer support side. One of those companies did free-to-play mobile games, right?
Yes, which I think when I first started working in this industry, I didn't really think I had much tie into gambling, but the more I've thought about it, reflected on my childhood, also where I worked, it's been pretty interesting. Yeah, so it was right after I was working at Apple, and I was looking for an opportunity to do something where it wasn't as well known yet, and I would learn more and take some risks. I had spent my career feeling like I was empowering people with technology primarily. Everything I'd done up until that point was always helping people do things that they couldn't do before with the product or service that I was selling. Apple was perfect. I was helping people do all kinds of fun stuff, be creative, be professional. So here it was like, okay, I didn't look for the job, I was kind of recruited, and it was like, I can help empower people with entertainment. That sounds totally cool. It's going to be just like empowering people with technology and solutions, except this is going to be empowering people to relax and have a good time. And that's what I thought I was getting into.
Can you talk a little bit about the parallels to gambling? What about these free-to-play mobile games that you were working on were comparable to gambling?
Right away, something I noticed that was really surprising to me. This was right in 2010 when free-to-play mobile gaming was first coming online, like Candy Crush and things like that. This company was called Kabam, and we became one of the leading free-to-play mobile games in that space, with a special niche towards people that were more hardcore gamers, like World of Warcraft style people, rather than Candy Crush.
Sure.
And what I found really fascinating and terrifying was that we had far more analysts than we did have people building the games. So I was like, that's weird. Why do we have so many people, basically doing math and analyzing the performance, like 3 times as many people than the people building it? And then I slowly realized that what we were really doing was running a massive amount of A/B tests on the users, which basically, like, if we give them this option, how much will they spend? If we give them this option, how much will they spend? And every time we found one where they spend more, we then just go to that one and do it again. Within this flow, how can we get them to spend even more money? And then you just keep doing that. And what I realized is we were spending a lot more time optimizing the extraction of revenue from the customer than we were providing entertainment. One of the key, and that's what made me realize the comparison with gambling, as well as the fact that we did eventually actually build a slots game that was fascinating. It did not have any of the legal requirements of a typical slots machine or gambling. Although you could put money in, since you couldn't take money out, it wasn't considered gambling, it's considered entertainment. And the whole thing is rigged, because since it's entertainment, they're allowed to. And as you're playing the slot game, it's all been programmed, again, by this giant team of analysts to just extract as much revenue from you as possible through these obsessive A/B tests. It's probably a lot more targeted than a casino is legally allowed to do. The other thing that was fascinating is that we actually had casino consultants come in to talk to us. And that was where the basis of our naming for customers came. When I joined, we named our customers Whale. I don't remember all of the fish, but there were about 7 fish names, going from whale, I know there was mackerel, all the way down to guppy.
Based on how much they would spend.
Based on how much they'd spend completely. All that matters is how much they spent. So a whale spent, top 5-10%, and a guppy was a free player. He's free to play. There was guppies, and then below guppy was krill. These krill and guppies are here for the whales to eat. And if we don't have them here, they won't have anything to eat. Because all of our games, in the way that it's kind of World of Warcraft, were also very socially built. So you would have a clan of people, and then in that clan of maybe 10 to 50 people, there would be whales that would spend money to get the team really strong, and then the team would go out into battle, and they could, for instance, destroy another team without a whale in it. Hence the needing of the guppies and the krill for the whales to eat. That did not jive with me, and immediately we moved to a gem rating, at least. We always prioritized all the customers by revenue, but at least I was able to switch us to like diamond, ruby, so that they all at least seemed valuable.
Fair. So, I mean, what would the motivation be for someone who was a whale to actually spend the money, and what kind of amounts are we talking? Do you have any idea?
Yeah, so our highest paying players were spending hundreds of thousands of dollars in the games.
Wow.
These are mobile games on their phone. These are typically people that live away from major cities, typically high income, like lawyers or business owners. There's not a lot of consumerism around them. And what they would say to us, we would do all kinds of focus groups and things. This was a very sophisticated company. They would tell us that this was their form of entertainment, and that they would justify it as the money they're spending instead of spending on things such as a movie theater or going out to eat. But yeah, some of them would spend hundreds of thousands of dollars, and their motivation would also be in large part social. Because since we've built the game in a way that they are a clan, the whales are depended on from the other players to be supporting the really expensive, heavy things that might help you win. So that there's actually social pressure from the fellow players of the game, adding to whatever addictive characteristics are being played upon. Each different game would deliberately try to appeal to basically a different addictive mechanic that shows up for the person. Empire building, where you're collecting, versus like tower defense games, where you're sort of similar to collecting, but you're building so that you can defeat. And then there's other games where it's all about that social nature and you're going out as a group. And there's different, we would spend a lot of time, as I'm sure happens in the gambling industry, targeting specific weaknesses in people's way of being.
I want to highlight, and kind of maybe dive in a little bit deeper, how much you knew about each individual player. So how was information collected? You said there were A/B tests. What did those kind of look like in practice?
So let me answer that in two parts. You asked, what did we kind of know about the people and how were the tests done?
Yeah.
What we would know about the people, so and I ran the customer service team, crossed like 22 games with a whole bunch of different studios in 9 languages around the world. And what we would know about the person, obviously where they are, but we would know everything about them across the usage of games. And the first thing we would do is calculate, obviously, their lifetime spend. So you knew exactly, every single person, you knew exactly how much they'd spent, lifetime. And if there was a problem with a customer that you were helping, that's the immediate thing that you referenced with it. So if there was something that, every company has things that go up to an executive team for customer servicey stuff, but it was always like, here's a person that is a free player, here's a person that spent $200,000. And how much they had spent really also drives what we do about it. And I helped to build algorithms and routing into our services that even routed our customer service tickets based on the player. Within the first 30 days, we would treat them as a high-value player, but if they didn't spend within 30 days, we would drastically deprioritize their inquiry and often just respond with a canned email that we never even check and see what they responded to, because probably not that different than gambling or a lot of the entertainment industry. Your brand is not built on your customer service, it's built on your intellectual property, and the company doesn't always care as much about the customer service, because basically if the new game comes out and you want to play whatever this new game is, you're not thinking the maker of that game I don't trust because they didn't take good care of me when I played this other game. You're going to just go buy the game and play it because there's nobody else that makes it. I think it's very different than a lot of other industries where it's built on the customer service because they can just go somewhere else. Well, another thing that comes up in probably casinos, definitely gaming, is how can we make the customer service cheaper and cheaper and cheaper? So eventually it got to the point where it was, Aaron, how can we make it free? And I'm like, well, if people buy things in the game and they don't get them, I can't take care of that for free.
Yeah.
And after wanting to cut my budget, helping people by 90% and wanting me to go out and lay off people, and me recognizing that this wasn't going to be the level of support necessary to support our revenue, it wasn't going to be taking good care of the customers or the employees, I decided to leave and try to go somewhere where I could actually build a brand and take good care of customers.
Yeah, and I respect you for doing that. I would have probably done the same thing given the circumstances. Let's talk about how this could be an on-ramp for people into gambling. When people think of the word gaming, they likely think of something like you're describing, or maybe FIFA, or like a video game. Now that term's been taken by the gambling industry to talk about slot machines and online casino, and it's pretty much all under the category of what's called iGaming. So we're seeing this blurring of lines between something like a free-to-play mobile game and something like an online slot machine. Do you feel like your company was kind of priming people for that addictive nature, that maybe they became gambling addicts in the future?
I think that free-to-play, there's no question that free-to-play gaming, where you have to buy things to get ahead in the game, and there's chance built in where you don't know what you're going to get for the money, is definitely almost gambling. The only thing I think that separates free-to-play gaming with loot box gotcha style mechanics and gambling is the fact that the money that you put into the game you'll never get out. Other than that, they seem very similar to me. Both of them suck in your money, ultimately taking more than it gives you, which is none for free-to-play gaming. It gives you none back.
Yeah.
And at least does focus a little bit more on the entertainment, whereas gambling does seem to focus just on the act of taking your money and blinking while it does it.
Yeah, fair enough. One more thing is, like, you mentioned that your company built a slot machine game. Were there any age requirements to play that game? And if
That's
so,
a good
were they
question.
enforced?
I think we got to piggyback on the age requirements of Apple and Google account creation. I think we kept it to I think 18 and over. There was one other thing you asked about, though, in terms of basically how are they optimizing the extraction of revenue from the customer. I think there's a really interesting dynamic that no one probably really understands that happens in free-to-play gaming. The person or the team that builds the game typically build it and then either walk away or just keep maintaining the core game design. A whole different team of people come in and do what's called live ops or live operations. And that's the team that's actually extracting the money. Because what they're doing is they're inventing specials and deals and sales. They're the ones doing all the marketing, and they're the ones running all of the calculations to see what will make the most money. Honestly, it is the most dangerous team within a free-to-play mobile company. They are the ones that are bonused on and passionately extracting money from the user base in any way possible. When I was working in free-to-play gaming, this team once decided that we were going to extract money at all costs from the customer. Obviously, as the head of the customer service team, I thought this was terrifying. The analogy that he used was when Cortez landed in South America, Central America, Cortez did not want his sailors to be afraid of going forward and attacking the natives, so he burned his own ships. Our leader in the company sent the message to everyone that we are going to burn the ships and take as much money as we can from the customer, and there's no way back. It doesn't matter what you do, burn the ships, get the money. Obviously, I was very concerned about that. A month and a half later, we got a multi-million-dollar chargeback from Google because the entire player base revolted, and we did find a boundary of how much brutal extraction you can do, where the whales actually started spending thousands of dollars on loot boxes, realizing you could spend 10 grand and not get the thing it advertised, and then told that to their clan, and then the whole community in the games revolted, finally recognizing that no matter what they did, it was just trying to take their money, and that was a boundary that we finally found.
Wow. So then, I mean, when we talk about game design versus game marketing, way more damage comes from the marketing of the product than the actual design?
Well, I think it's more than, I think you're partially there. I think it's what you could think of it is the live running of the game. Like the initial game design is typically done by more people that are more creatives and traditional designers of games and things, and they're trying to make something that's fun, maybe also build in some mechanics of buying things. But then when the team that runs the game takes over, they then take it much further, and that act of both marketing and constantly tweaking the game and releasing things specifically just to drive revenue generation, that's the really dangerous part.
Yeah, I feel like it's similar but a little different to casinos, because I know that when it comes to like a slot machine, right, the designer of a slot machine builds in things like near misses, they build things specifically into the game to make it more addictive, but then the group that's kind of pushing it out, marketing it, and profiting from it is the casino that purchases the machine. So it sounds similar, but just a little more insidious on the gambling side, maybe.
Yes, and even just to share slightly more detail in that exact same angle, oftentimes the studio that designs a game eventually sells it, and the team that is doing that live operations and marketing is typically another company. There are even companies that go out and buy older free-to-play games that that aren't growing anymore and add them to a portfolio of games that they're doing what they're called farming. And they're just keeping them floating and doing enough live operations and marketing to keep making more than they've spent on it.
Wow. So yeah, that's a whole extra business that happens behind the scenes. What are the end implications of this? Are free-to-play mobile games leading people towards addictive behaviors? And if so, what should be done about it?
I think that free-to-play games are definitely leading people towards addictive behaviors, and I think that what should be done about it is just being a lot more responsible about the mechanics that are designed into a game. I think that as a society, we probably need to recognize the vulnerability of a young person to develop patterns very similar to gambling. They just feel like it's an accepted part of society because they even did it originally. Honestly, it's even things like Pokemon and those types of situations where you don't know what you're going to get when you buy it, and it's that thrill of, am I going to get that one card I need?
Yeah.
Oh, I'm going to buy one more set, maybe I'll get it next.
Yeah.
I mean, how is that not gambling without the even then you do have potential to make money back because these cards are worth so much.
Yeah.
That feels exactly like gambling to me.
So then, I guess a message for any state or any group that's doing like prevention or trying to help people learn about addiction before they actually begin the process, they should be also focusing on free-to-play games.
Absolutely, and I think that just like casino gambling, the vast majority of people can dip into the experience, find some enjoyment, and dip back out again and go do something else in their life. There's a percentage of people that are more vulnerable and more susceptible, and I think we just need to be aware of that and not have shame in it and not gloss over it as we're allowing companies to generate revenue off of these mechanics.
And then just to close out, if someone is struggling with free-to-play mobile gaming, say they're spending too much money on it, it's preoccupying their time, they're just not feeling good about it, is Evive a good place for them to go to get help as well as if they have a gambling problem?
That's a great question. So Evive focuses primarily on the act of traditional gambling, but this comes up more and more, and we are working on developing content that would help not only a person that might be experiencing some early signs of harm from free-to-play gaming and maybe just starting to gamble, but also for a parent or a spouse or a brother or sister to maybe spot those same signs, possibly even more easily, and help someone be on a path that perhaps doesn't go from free-to-play gaming to gambling in a way that might be harmful for them.